Okay, so we back. My name is Juice Wanna. This is Old Jaw Gritty, Grand Strains. Yes, right? Don't forget, hold on a minute here. Don't forget, right? These are the areas in where you can find us: Facebook, um, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, um, Discord, Caffeine, Clubhouse. Right, get a look at that. Yeah, if you hit the like button, don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification so you can be up, so you can always be notified when new content is being uploaded. And plus, you can help me with the algorithms so other people can, know about this. So please don't hesitate to make comments. Don't hesitate to share and let everybody get a taste of the flavor of the juice, man. All right. So we will be on to chapter 12. Rites of illuminations, rituals of a hoodwink, rite of entrusting, rite of investiture, masonry undoubtedly the worship of Baal. I probably should change the heading, but nah. We started off with that. I'm talking about for my people over inside of Twitch right now, right? The initiated ceremony of Freemasonry and any of its degrees might be properly divided into three separate periods. The first period of preparation in the anteroom, including with the admission of the candidate into the lodge. Secondly, the period of darkness and gloom, and the hoodwink period, during which the first three religious rites of induction, circumcombination, and secrecy are performed. And lastly, the period of light, embracing the three remaining ceremonies of illumination, entrusting, and investiture, enduring which also the pretended secret of the order of communication to the candidate in the symbolic philosophy of the system is explained. We are now entering upon a discussion of ceremonies and symbols of the last period. I'm sorry, I've been here for a minute, so you're gonna have to deal with it as I grab me some cheeses. Not a shameful plug. They don't give me nothing. I'm just eating the cheeses. The rites of illumination. The rites of secrecy being concluded and already described to in the initiate having been kept during all this time in a wretched condition of darkness, symbolizing the darkness of the mind in which he has several times already made public confessions, and has now arrived at the particular stage in the initiatory ceremonies when he must be masonically restored to light, which is done in the following manner. The worshipful master resumes his hat and, stepping back a few paces, demands the candidate, Brother Hunt, on his present condition, what do you most desire? The newly obligated minister, prompted by the senior deacon, very mildly answers, light and masonry. The master then continues in a sort of sericom tone, Brother senior deacon and brethren, stretch forth your hand and assist me in bringing this brother from darkness to light in masonry. And beginning, God created the heavens and earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit said, let there be light, and there was light. And now in humble commemorations, excuse me, of which ancient events I masonically say, let there be light. Handbook, page 76. Just as this word light is pronounced by the master, both himself and all brethren who are arranged in two rows on either side of the altar bring their hands in front of the body of the body to do the do guard of a mason, and represents the annex figure. At the same time, senior deacon, who is standing behind the candidate, swiftly snatches the hoodwink from off his eyes, and the master concludes, and there is light. The same lodges at word light. The master and brethren clap hands and stamp loudly on the floor, representing a shock, and hence the ceremony is sometimes also called the shock of enlightenment. So they snatching off his head. The above figure correctly represents the performance of the wonderful Masonic ceremony. The worshipful master is in front of the candidate under the due guard of masonry, the senior deacon behind him, snatching off the hoodwink, the altar before him, and the holy square and compass, the three burning tapers, and last of all himself, a half-naked, shivering wrench, forewarned sinner. And now our next inquiry must be, whence did this ceremony come, and why has it a location and a name in a Masonic system? We are authoritatively answered, and usually by the accredited teachers of the lodge. And the Masonic Guide of Bicycles, page 64, we read, the rite of illumination is a very ancient ceremony and constitutes an important feature in all the mysteries of the early ages. In the Egyptian, Caribbean, Sidonian, Alatian, Scandinavian, and judicial rituals, it held a prominent place, and in them all represented the same ideas. It makes the termination of the mystic pilgrimage through gloom and night or darkness and was emblem- emblematic, right, of the moral and intellectual light, which pours its divine radiance on the mind after it has conquered the prejudice and passion of ignorance that which it has long been struggling. In Dr. Albert G. Mackey, in finding a paracle for the pertaining demand of the candidate for Masonic light, as explained in the ritual as already quoted, it declares in his symbolism of Freemasonry, page 149. He craves an intellectual illumination which will dispel the darkness of mental and moral ignorance. I probably should bring this up some, right? Let's see there. Okay. Will dispel darkness of mental and moral ignorance and bring into his view an eyewitness the sublime truth of religion, philosophy, and science, which it is the great design of Freemasonry to teach. In all ancient systems, this reverence for light as the symbol of truth was predominant in the mysteries of every nation. The candidate was made to pass through scenes of utter darkness and at length terminated his trails by an admission of speedily illuminated seculum and sanctuary, where he was said to have attained pure and perfect light, where he received the necessary instructions which were to invest him with the knowledge of the divine truth, which it had been the object of all his labor to gain, and design of the institution into which he had been initiated to bestow. From this description, we are enabled to form a we are enabled to perform a pretty accurate idea of what very high estimation in which this particular ceremony was formerly held in the ancient mysteries, and the wonderful benefits so boastfully claimed for the Masonic system are fully set forth in the following brief extracts from the large manual. In the Freemason's Guide Bicycle, page 63, we read, the material light which is thus afforded him is succeeded by the intellectual illuminations which serve to enlighten his path on the journey from this world to the next. In the past, Grand Master Mackey added that this rite of illumination or shock of enlightenment is a symbol of the birth of intellectual light and the dispersion of intellectual darkness. Manual of the Lodge, page 29 and 30. What an extraordinary ceremony this pagan rite of illumination is, to be sure, and what, pardon me here, bring this over a little. And what astonishing virtue there is in the old hoodwink after all. Why? It is the 100-fold better than anything to be found in the Romanist Church, with all her boastful apostolical successions and pretended sanctionities. Right, the Romanish a man must go to confession quite often and get the priest absolution. My fault. Absolution. He must do a large amount of fasting, use immense quantities of holy water, walk on his knees from image to image in the chapel doing penance, pay at least from 9 to a dozen visits to the most popular churches in any of our large cities, saying so many prayers at each to secure a few years indulgence in the Pope from indulgence from the Pope, where charms, beads, crosses, agnes, D's, and a host of others trinket on his person, and when dying he must have holy oil rubbed on his body with the priest's thumb, and all this to enlighten his path on his journey from this world to the next. But that's all miserable superstition. Let him only go into a Masonic lodge dressed in an old pair of drawers and a hoodwink, a cable tow, and with nearly half and with nearly one half of his body naked, and let him trout around there for an hour or so like a schoolboy playing a blind man's bluff, and then the old hooded wink is removed, he becomes intellectually illuminated, his mind becomes thoroughly enlightened, and darkness of his soul is all dispelled. The new birth is fully accomplished, and do what he will thereafter, except to succeed from masonry. He has secured for himself a safe passport to the grand lodge above. And yet, with all this, we are positively assured by our Masonic teachers, as in an above quotation, that this ceremony of the shock of enlightenment has been wholly borrowed from the secret worship of ancient mysteries. Peh, tis rank, it smells to heaven. Right of entrusting. The right of entrusting, let me say that again. Right, tis rank, it smells of, rights of heaven. Um, Okay, the rights of entrusting. Next demands our attention and is performed as follow. The hoodwink being removed as above explains the shock of enlightenment, completed with all the intellectual accompaniments, and worshipful master approaches the altar before which the candidate is still kneeling, and points out to him the three great and the three lesser lights, as already explained on page 133. He then steps back a few paces, and advancing again towards the altar by one upright regular step, with his left foot bringing the heel of the right foot to the hollow of the left, forming what masonry very scientifically calls the angled of an oblong square, making the same time the do guard the sign of a mason. Handbook, page 39. All right. So now you understand how they did the foot. Hold on, just in case you didn't catch that. Right. He then steps back a few paces and advancing again towards the altar by one upright regular step, which he is with his left foot, bringing the heel of his right foot to the hollow of the left, forming what masonry very scientifically calls the angle of an oblong square, making the same time in Dugard a sign of a mason, And then he then approaches the altar a second time and taking the candidate by the right hand as an ordinary handshake and trust him with the wonderful secrets of this degree as follows. Brother Hunt, he says, in taking our friendship and brotherly love, I have now the pleasure of presenting you with my right hand, and with it the grip of word of the entered apprentice, but as you are yet uninstructed, brother senior deacon will answer for you. All right. Question. I hail. Answer. I conceal. What do you conceal? Answer. All the secrets of Freemasonry to which this token alludes. Question. What is this? Pressing his thumbnail on the first knuckle. The grip of it into the apprentice. Question. Has it a name? It has. Will you give it to me? Answer. I did not so receive it, neither will I so impart it. Question. How will you dispose of it? Answer. I will letter and symbol it. Letter it and begin. A. Answer. Begin you. Question, nay, you must begin. All right. Senior Deacon A. Worshipful Master B. Senior Deacon O. Worshipful Master Z. Senior Deacon As. Worshipful Master Bo. Senior Deacon Boaz. This constitutes the right of entrusting and is correctly represented in the figure on page 88. What a very dignifying position this is for a doctor of divinity to occupy, and how extremely intellectual it must be to go over all the foregoing miserable stuff in the Masonic Lodge room with a saloon keeper or gambler. And now let us hear what Freemasonry teaches in regards to the antiquity of this rite and what plantations it gives explanation and what explanation it gives of its present position as the Masonic ceremony of vast importance. In The Symbolism of Freemasonry by Mackey, page 147, we read, the right of entrusting to which we are now to direct our attention will supply us with many important and interesting symbols. There is an important period in the ceremony of Masonic institutions when the candidate is above to receive the full communications of the mysteries through which he has passed, and which the trail of labors which he has undergone can only entitle him. This ceremony is technically called the rite of entrusting because it is then that the aspirant begins to be entrusted with that for the possession of which he was seeking. It is equivalent to what the ancient mysteries call the autopsy, or the seeing of what only the initiates were permitted to behold. Thus, it will be noticed we are not left in any doubt as to the origin of this rite. In the ancient mysteries, the secret worship of the sun god is occupied it occupied the same position that it does in Freemasonry today. But here again, that general Grand High Priest Mackey says on page 184. This rite is of entrusting is of course divided into several parts or periods for the appropriate or secret things of Freemasonry are not to be given at once, but in gradual progression. It begins, however, with the communication of light, which, although but a preparation for the development of the mysteries which are to follow, must be considered as one of the most important symbols in the whole science of Masonic symbolism. And again, on page 149, he further explains, in all the ancient mysteries, this reverence for light as the symbol of truth was predominant. Light was in accordance with this old religious sentiment and great object of attainment and all the ancient religious mysteries. But Dr. Oliver, perhaps more than any other Masonic writer of modern times, has given the best description of the mod of initiation into the mysteries, right? Initiation into the mysteries, the internal arrangement of Kavners in which the ceremonies were performed, the position of the various officers and conferring the degrees, and especially the important parts which was identical rights of entrusting, was made to occupy in those ancient secret initiations. He relates in this history of initiations on page 54 in describing the mysteries of Persia. In the inner caverns were the secrets or apparatia were communicated that the the this consecrated place was brilliantly illuminated and sparkled with gold and precious stones. A splendid sun, a starry system emitted with dazzling radiance and moved in order to the symphonies of heavenly music. Here sat the Archimedes Archimedes in the east, elevated on a throne of burnished gold, crowned with a rich diamond decorated with model, crowned with a rich diamond myrtle bow, inhabited with a flowing tunic of bright circulum tentacle. I don't know if you can see that there. Hold on, let me see. Okay, tentacle, yeah, tentature. Okay, because it don't look like that up there. Um, Around him were arranged in solemn order of Perlucius and dispenser of the mysteries, forming altogether the reverent assembly, which covered the awkward struck aspirant with a profound feeling of venature, and by the involuntary impulse frequently produced a act of worship. Here he was received with congratulations, and after having entered into the usual engagement of keeping secrets, the sacred rite of Myrthia, the sacred words were entrusted to him, in which the ineffable chastity for name of God was the chief. Okay. This is an exact representation of the interior of any of our areas Sokic lodges in Freemasonry at the present time, with the single exception of the orientation of the gold and precious stones. And the archigram seated in the east and groggishly attired, we find the prototype of our own. Worshipful master clothed in his gaudy regalia and occupying a similar station in the Masonic Lodge. The Prulucius or dispenser of the sacred mysteries. An adapter represented by the warden and deacon, the splendid sun and starry system are reproduced by the illuminated figures of the sun displaying behind the master's chair, and by clouded canopy decks with stars which adorn the ceiling of our lodge room. The congratulations on being omitted, the solemn engagement of keeping secrets, the sacred mysteries, and lastly, the entrusting of our sacred word after the obligation of secrecy had been administered are all as faithfully represented today in any well governed lodge of masonry in the United States as they ever were brilliantly lightened, sacralum of the ancient Persian or Egyptian institutions. Rites of investiture. The last rite of the Masonic institutionary ceremonies and the one most next demanded our attention is called the rite of investiture. The candidate having received the new birth of the rite of illumination and having been mentally and morally enlightened through the rite of entrusting, he is now entrusted with the lambskin or the white leather apron. In this presentation of the apron and teaching him how to wear it and call it the rite of investiture. The annexed engraving representing the worshipful master, the candidate with lambskin apron, in which he ordered him to carry to the senior warden in the West, who, in showing him how to wear it, uses the following formula, handbook page 1, page 82. Pardon me, I'm here eating these oh Jesus. It's what it is. It's what it is. Senior Warden Brother Hunt, Masonic Traditions, informs us that at the building of King Solomon's temple, there were various classes of workmen, each of whom, as a distinctive badge, wore their apron with a particular manner. Into the prentice being beard or burdened, wore theirs with the bib turned up to preserve their clothes from being soiled, but also stains upon the apron of the operative workman would bring credit rather than disgrace. Yet you being a speculative mason are expected to keep yours unspotted from the world. You are therefore entitled to wear yours in this manner while working with us on this degree. He turns up the bib of the apron. This concludes the rite of an investiture and its origin and the reason for its performance is fully explained as follows in the textbook Freemasonry. In the General Asman Raison by Sickles, page 74. The apron of the ancient times, i.e., the ancient mysteries, was a universally received emblem of truth. Among the Griant's mysteries, The candidate was invested with the white robe and apron. In Persia, the investiture was exceedingly splendid and succeeded to the commission of light. In Mackey's Manual of the Lodge, page 32, we read, the Persian mysteries of Mithridates, and the candidate was invested with a white apron, and the barometrical institutions of Hindustan, the Zinar or sacred corn was substituted for the apron. Even the Japanese was their right in their right of initiations invested their candidate with a white apron. Again, the symbolism of Freemasonry by Mackey, page 130. The right of investure calls in the quality technical language of the order, the ceremony of clothing, bringing us at once to the consideration of that well-known symbol of Freemasonry, the lambskin apron. The right of investiture, or the placing upon the aspirant some garment of an induction of this appropriate preparation of the ceremonies in which he was about to engage prevailed in all the ancient institutions. In referring to its ancient use of Scandinavian mysteries, he adds, in the Scandinavian rites, where the military genius of the people had introduced a warlike species of initiations. Instead of the apron, we find the candidate receiving a white shell, which was, however, always present with the accompaniment of some symbolic instructions not very dissimilar to that which is connected to the Masonic apron. And again, in the traditions of Masonry, page 43, 40, and 44, there is no one of the symbols of Masonry more important in the teachings of more interesting in the history of that of the lambskin or white leather apron. The apron or griddle in ancient times was a universally received emblem of truth and passive duty. Among the primitive Masons, i.e. the ancient sun worship, thus badge received a characteristic distinction from its particular color or material, and was indeed an unequivocal mark of superior dignity. The investure of the apron formed an essential part of the ceremony of institution and was attained with right equally significant and impressive. Again, on page 54, we read, when a candidate was initiated into the ancient mysteries, he was estimated renegated, and he was invested with a white garment and apron as a symbol of his newly attained purity. Among the Greek, the garment of institution was white cereal white is a color most acceptable to the gods. The Japanese For among them we find the mysteries present, and the candidate was a loose tunic of in white apron, and in the last degree of the Judicial rites, the candidate was solemnly invested with a flowing robe of the purest white. It may perhaps be worthy to remark that the alluding here to the Japanese mysteries, past Grand Master Pearson uses the present tense, thus indicating that the sun worship is still prevailing religion in that country. And this being the case, how it may be asked, can a Masonic mystery consistently request a Japanese pagan to forsake the practice of his secret pagan ceremonies when he himself has been initiated into the very same rites and has absolutely sworn to conform, to abide by, and to maintain and support the very same adultery forever? And referring to the apron as being in primitive times rather than elastical than a civil decoration, Mr. Pearson goes on to say in the closing remarks, on the right of investure, traditions of Freemasonry, page, what is this page? My fault. I'm actually thinking of something while I'm reading this. On page 47. This is a collateral proof. This is a collateral proof of the fact that Masonry was originally incorporated with the various systems of divine worship used by every people in ancient times. If Masonry retains the symbol or shadow, it cannot have renown the reality or substance, and hence unquestionably, the Masonic philosophy must be one in form and substance with those various systems of divine worship and ancient mysteries with which it was originally incorporated. And so true it is that Freemasonry and the ancient mysteries are identical in every feature. And so persistently do all our Masonic teachers insist upon establishing this identity beyond any possibility of dispute. That past Grand Masters Mackey affirm of the northeast corner ceremonies of the Eastern way entered apprentice degree, that it is the only one of all ceremonies of initiation which cannot be traced back to any pagan origin. Oh, it's saying unstable. Okay. In the symbolism of Freemasonry, page 175, he says, it may be noticed in conclusion that the cornerstone seems to be a particular a Jewish symbol. I can find no reference to it in any of the ancient pagan rites, and the embed Pehan, the cornerstone, which is frequently mentioned in scriptures, appears in its use in masonry to have had, unlike almost every other symbol, in order to exclusively temple origin. The foregoing quotation might be identically multiplied from the various manuals and monitors of the lodge, as well as from the authorized teachings of those who mound and fashion Masonic thought, both Europe, both in Europe and in America. But enough and great deal more than enough has already been said to prove with the force of accuracy of a mathematical demonstration that every rite and every ceremony through which the Masonic candidate is made to pass on the night of his initiation, from the time he enters the preparation room in the upper chamber of the building where the lodge is held, until he again reaches the sidewalk and shown slave walk. The sworn slave of masonry has all been borrowed from the secret worship of the sun god of ancient pagans, and with the religious philosophy of speculative Freemasonry and the religious philosophy of Baal worship of Samaria are identically the same. Okay, so that concludes chapter 11, right? Like I said, I am Juice Winner. This is Old Jaw Gritty Grand Strings. You can catch me on these platforms as well as many others. We are on Twitch, Twitter, Clubhouse, right? Whatever. Just hit that like button right there so you can get constant notification. Oh, thank you. See, look at that. The love is there, right? Hit that notification bell so we can get the love, and we can also, expand our audience, right? Also hit the subscribe and the notification so you can constantly be notified when new content is live or when new content is uploaded. All right, we are up out of here.